Yeah, welcome to my talk. So today, as I said, we are gonna like understand and learn how to create assistants using Dialogflow CX, and then I'm gonna explain how to integrate ChatGPT, or in this case, as we are gonna talk about Google technologies, I'm gonna explain how to integrate Palm API or generative AI under Google Vertex on Google Cloud, which is the Google Cloud solution of Palm. Okay, so yeah, let me introduce myself first. So I am, like, as he said, I'm organizer of the Alexa community in Spain, also Madrid DevOps and the conference DevOps Days, but also co-organizer of the Google Developers Group here in Madrid. You can find all my content in basically in GitHub, YouTube. I usually do like monthly Twitch streams at Shavidop. I have the same tag everywhere, and you can find my resources at shavidop.me. Okay, that's my blog where I usually share articles in Spanish but also in English. Okay, so yeah, no matter where you are, you will understand my content. I'm working as a head of infra at VoiceFlow. VoiceFlow is a company that well, it's a web application that allows you to create assistants as well, but in this case, it's a no-code tool with drag and drop boxes that you can link and make your conversation as a flow and create assistance in less than 5 minutes. Um, yeah, one of the recognitions on the Google side is I am a Google Dev Library author and contributor in the machine learning and Google Assistant um, things, and then I was recognized from Google as a Google Cloud Champion Innovator. That is like the Google Developer Expert, but from the Google Cloud side, okay, in the machine learning category. I have other recognitions like GitHub Star, Alexa Champion, AWS Community Builder, Microsoft Azure Content, and then advocate of AUS Zero, and also Ambassador Labs advocate. But today we're gonna talk, as I said, about Dialogflow CX. So what is Dialogflow CX? Dialogflow CX is basically the conversational AI platform that provides a new way for designing agents or assistants, taking a state machine approach to agent designs. Okay, so basically it's a kind of similar to VoiceFlow, but from Google. So basically, what you are gonna create is assistant by creating boxes as well. That on Dialogflow CX is called pages, and then you are gonna transition from one page to another. Okay, and depending on the, like on what the user said, depending on events, depending on whatever you want, you are gonna transition from one place to another. So that's why you are gonna have this state machine approach. Okay, this is super important because when in the past, when you were developing like chatbots or assistants overall, one of the most complex things is to manage the conversation itself, the state of the conversation. Let's say that I am a user and I'm requesting thing to the chatbot. So me as a chatbot, from the other side, I have to know who is this user, in which part of the conversation he or she is right now, and what is the next step. Okay, in the past, without this kind of state machines approach, that's something that you have to develop on your own, or using some hacky solutions and creating a bunch of code, which now with Dialogflow CX we will see. I'm gonna give you a demo, but we'll see that it's super easy to create assistance and transition from one place to another. This is basically how this is from the documentation, but basically this is how Dialogflow CX works. So in this case is the edit order flows. Another important things I mentioned that Dialogflow CX has pages, which are the boxes, that you can go from one page, from one box to another page. to another box, but on top of everything you have flows. Okay, so you can have like a better um, like a structure, from for your conversation in terms of flows. What does this mean? So what it means is basically that when you are like creating, for instance, an assistant for a bank. In a bank, you can do a bunch of things like I don't know, like check the balance, make a transfer, chat with a human. So these kind of things are different flows. Let's say that the assistant is about your bank, like bank assistant. But in the end, what you are gonna have is different features, different functionalities. Okay, so that is gonna be in a flow. Okay, so the bank transfer is gonna be a flow. The check your balance is gonna be another flow. So what you are gonna have on each flow are these flows itself, these pages. Okay, and you can transition to a page or to a flow. Okay, that this is also useful because you can create a reusable flows. For instance, for the bank assistant, you can create a flow just for the payment. Let's say that you are gonna connect with Stripe or with PayPal, and you want to reuse that flow. So in this page, for instance, let's say that you are in the confirmation, you can transition to that flow, go to the payment flow, and then go back. Okay, instead of on each flow creating a bunch of pages just to work with the with the payment process. Okay, so basically these are the two most important concepts in Dialogflow CX, which is flows, uh, which is the highest top level. We will see it in action, and then pages. Okay, which are the states itself, the small states within a flow. So Dialogflow CX has machine learning inside. It is powered by machine learning, and the machine learning that it has is the natural language understanding. Natural language understanding is a subtype of the natural language processing, and basically what it does is it gives you, depending on the rules that you have specified, what our users are trying to tell us. Okay, for instance, that if I wanna check the balance of my account, the natural language understanding is gonna tell us that the user is requesting for the balance and not for the balance of, like someone, is the balance of this specific user. So for example, if we check this another example, which is the tell me the weather of Madrid, what we are gonna see is that tell me the weather of Madrid is an utterance. Okay, we can request or we can ask for the weather of Madrid in multiple ways. Like tell me the weather of Madrid, how's the weather in Madrid. There are different ways of requesting information. Those different utterances are requesting the same thing, okay, the same intent. So multiple utterances are gonna match one intent. Okay, and then Madrid is the parameter because could be Madrid, could be Vienna, could be Valencia, could be whatever. Okay, those parameters then are entity types that are defined. Okay, so what you are gonna define basically under your NLU is all the intents. For instance, get underscore weather and all the utterances. Okay, like tell me the weather, the ones that I told you. And then on the other side, you are gonna create an entity type called city, and you are gonna add all the cities. Okay, of course there are built-in entity types. So for example, the city one is, you don't have to create an entity type with all the cities of the world. Okay, that is already there and you can use it. So that is basically how the natural language understanding, the classic natural language understanding works, and how this works on Dialogflow CX. So whenever we request, let's say, like in this case, we have a chatbot that tells you the weather, you will need to specify this get weather intent and then the entity type. Okay, so in a super easy way, you will see you will track that on the flows and on the pages. And for instance, you can trigger or you can transition when this utterance is executed, is triggered, you can transition to the get weather state. So you can call your webhook, etc. For example, just thinking in the Dialogflow CX manner of doing things. In terms of designing the NLU, that is the process that we should follow. What we have is basically the design. So it's on the design side, how we are going to interact with our chatbots or with our assistants, okay? Because with Dialogflow CX supports a bunch of platforms. We will see it in a bit. But basically, it's first design how to interact with it, okay? Then build. That means that add all these utterances, add all these entity types, etc. And then train. Okay, when we train is when we are going to give all the utterances, all the entity types to the machine learning model, and then the Dialogflow CX, it is going to start understanding us. Okay, if we don't click on train, it's like we have the data there, but we don't send the data to to fine tune the model or to train the model again. Okay, and then evaluate. That means test, 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 and test. Okay, check that everything is working fine and check that everything is working as expected. So how it works, the Dialogflow CX. This is another image, another picture from the CX documentation. But basically, if we go from here, okay, let's follow the numbers, okay, the ordering here. So basically, we are an end user, okay, that is gonna interact with the CX assistant. On Dialogflow CX, you will find a CX assistant or CX agent. Okay, the official name is agent, but I don't like that too much, so that's why I said assistant, because at least for me it's more natural. But when you go to the Dialogflow CX, you will see agent. Okay, but yeah. So going back here, the user interacts somehow. That means by phone, that means by typing, or by like handwriting, or just by audio with a client application. Okay, that client application could be WhatsApp, just the phone, Telegram, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, etc. So when the user says, for instance, "Send me the weather of Madrid," it will interact with the client application and it will call the Dialogflow CX API. Okay, there's one API that we need to trigger to tell to Dialogflow CX, okay, I am the user with this user ID, um, and I am requesting this. Okay, so Dialogflow CX internally, when you call to that API, what it is gonna trigger is, okay, you are this user in these flows and pages in this state machine. You are in this part of the conversation. You told me this, so you have to transition to XYZ flow or page, and these things are the things that are going to be executed. For instance, requesting a webhook service that can get information from the database, or requesting external APIs, for instance, the AccuWeather API, for example. So when that happens, we have a response. The service, Dialogflow CX, like the state machine, is updated, and it will give us the response. Okay, the response is basically all the messages that we need to send to the user, okay, in an array. And then on our app, for instance, if it is WhatsApp, what we are gonna see is basically the reply. Okay, you have the request, and then we will have the reply. Okay, and then this output is the thing that the user is gonna see. Okay, this is how Dialogflow CX works. There are built-in integrations and there are custom integrations. Okay, we are gonna see it in a bit. So for the webhooks, the Dialogflow CX accepts a webhook. So in any time during the conversation, you can call a webhook. The architecture recommended for developing the backend on Dialogflow CX is basically a serverless. That means that, and we are under the Google and Google Cloud ecosystem. The technology recommended is Google Cloud Functions, okay, which is the Google Cloud serverless service. So what you are gonna deploy there is just functions. And why serverless? Because, for instance, not all the people is interacting with your chatbot at the same time. You know, like I don't know, like these interactions are like spontaneous. You know, so that's why I usually prefer a serverless architecture. Of course, if you have a bunch of interactions, we should reconsider that to deploy the webhook as a server, okay, that is also available. Another technology recommended is the cloud storage, Google Cloud Storage, GS, the GS buckets, basically. So where there you can push your assets like audio, media, like video and images. So you can push there and you can retrieve it in a super easy way. And to check what is going on your assistant, you have Google Cloud Logs. Okay, so for the assistant itself and also for your cloud functions, you can check the logs there. And for database, there are some built-in small databases per assistant on Dialogflow CX. But if you want a persistent database, the recommended is Firebase Firestore, okay, which is the NoSQL Google Cloud solution as a database, okay. Yeah, I recommend NoSQL because it's the fastest, the more dynamic, and the easier to use, okay. In terms of client SDKs, for the Dialogflow CX API, so Dialogflow CX has an API to manage your assistants, okay, like for instance, creating intents, creating utterances, creating entity types. There is an API, and it has a SDK available in JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Golang, Java, C++, and C#. Okay, this is basically to manage your assistant without the UI. Okay, and yeah, and how to build this, basically, like this Dialogflow CX and the assistant itself. So my recommendation is to see like to have an idea, you know, to start from a starting point, then go into the you know, like to the design phase, as I said before, like design how your assistant is gonna looks like, then develop the backend, develop all the webhooks, all those functions, develop whatever you need, unify all the NLU plus the backend. Okay, so all your designs, the NLU, your basically the interaction with the backend, and then test. Okay, we can add afterwards some branding and then deploy to production. Okay, on Dialogflow CX you can create environments and you can create versions, and you can promote those versions to each environment, for example, which makes this really easy to test. How to test your assistant agent on Dialogflow CX. So there are multiple options, quite powerful. The first one, this is before we go to the test itself and how to test your assistant, let me explain you the Dialogflow CX console. So this is the Dialogflow CX console. Here is the flow. Okay, this is the default start flow, and these all boxes that you are seeing here, these are pages. Okay, so if we want to create a flow, we just click on here on the plus button and we will create a new flow, and that flow is going to be empty. It's just going to have like the start page, like this one, in that flow. And then from here, we can transition to another flow in a really easy way. In terms of testing, in the Dialogflow CX console, we have the test agent. Okay, so when you click there, you select the version that you want to test and the environment that you want to test, and then it's as easy as this. You can start testing your assistant here just by typing. Okay, you can use your voice as well, but it's as easy as that. Okay. Then there are some automated tests. So whenever you create or whenever you have an interaction, that interaction you can save it as a test. Okay, those tests can be added to a CI/CD environment. Okay, so whenever you create a new version or whenever you publish a new version to a new environment, all these tests are gonna be executed automatically. Okay, so in super easy way, you will make sure that all the changes, or at least the happy path, are gonna be running and are not gonna be broken. Okay. Integrations, as I said, it has some built-in integrations. The first one is the CX phone gateway, which is basically just like an IVR, interactive voice response. What is an IVR? Are those systems that are telling you press 1 to whatever, press 2 to whatever. That is like some automated thing. So that is something that you can build and you can use, and it's the built-in integration there. And then there are some other telephony integrations like Avaya, Box Implant, Audio Codes, and Twilio that you can use. And in terms of text base, it has the Dialogflow Messenger one, which is basically the classic bubble that you have that you can put on your website, and it goes like it shows up when you open the website. So that is the Dialogflow Messenger integration. And then the Facebook Messenger, that means that you are going to create your app on developer.facebook.com, and you are going to fill here all the things required, and that's it. Like the app ID, all these things, and that's it. You don't have to build anything or to deploy anything anywhere. It's just built in, like plug and play. And same for Line. For custom, for instance, like Telegram or WhatsApp, there are not direct integration. Okay, so what we have to build is basically in just a super, the code should be like less than 100 lines, but basically what we have to deploy some man in the middle. Okay, so it is a server or a serverless that gets the input, for instance, from Telegram, calls the Dialogflow CX, get the information from the Dialogflow CX, transforms that information in a Telegram way, and it shows you and it sends that information to Telegram, to the user. Okay, these are the steps that I'm explaining here, but it's basically get the request from Telegram, extract the text from Telegram, make the request to the Dialogflow CX, which is the detect intent request. Okay, get the request from Dialogflow CX, parse that Dialogflow CX response, and then send the response to the user in a Telegram format. Okay, basically a man in the middle that transforms from one thing to another. It's super easy. Like you usually are gonna do that in less than 100 lines and in less than 30 minutes. Okay, so you can deploy this and having chatbots in whatever platform you want. Demo. Let me show you here. So this is the example that I showed you in the other slide. Basically, here are the flows. So when I click, for instance, in this start page, what we are gonna see are the routes. Okay, the routes are the transitions that I told you. So for instance, the product info, that is when we start the interaction with these assistants, when an intent, remember the NLU that we talked about? When an intent is triggered, this intent, the product info, we are gonna transition. Okay, when we are gonna transition, we are gonna transition to the page search information form. Okay, so how can we trigger this intent, this product.info that is here in the entity types? No, intents. Here we have product info. So here is where we are gonna see all the utterances, which are training phrases, right? So tell me about OC. Hello, please find me operator guide for ICI. What is what is deployment info for OH? Okay, so if you can see here, like you are seeing things in blue, green, and orange. These things are the parameters. Okay, if we go back to our slide deck, it's basically this. This is our parameters that are entity types. Okay, and the other things are utterances and training phrases. Okay, so this is a parameter, and all of these are training phrases. And then each parameter, the color, determines the entity type that it belongs to. Okay, so what that means is that what you are gonna have is under the entity types, you are gonna have all these type of entities. Installation, synonyms, install process, installation, because for Madrid the city is just the city, but for deployment, for integration, you can specify like this thing that is variable. That could change in multiple ways, like integrate, integrated, integrating, integration. You can say the info type in multiple ways. So yeah, for testing, for example, here you can have like as easy as this. We can interact with your assistant, and we will see a walkthrough, and it will tell you which pages and steps are being executed. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the Dialogflow. Is super easy. I mean, I encourage you to create these assistants, because yeah, it's very powerful, and it abstracts you from the conversational AI side, that you just need to focus on the design of your conversation, just focus on your on your final product, instead of dealing with code and all these things. That is, everything is managed by Dialogflow CX. Okay, so go there and check it out. Yeah. Let's continue with the presentation. So Dialogflow CX CLI. So what is this CLI? This CLI is basically a tool that is developed by me, and yeah, me as a developer. It is also there are some Googlers contributing to it. So basically, it's a tool that helps Dialogflow CX users to test their projects and interact with them in multiple ways. Okay. Basically, with the Dialogflow CX CLI, what you can do is basically CRUD operations like create, read, update, and delete CX resources like intents, like flows, pages, entities, a bunch of things. And there are some testing capabilities which are very useful. For instance, you can trigger a CI/CD pipeline. You can have an NLU profiler. I will explain you what is the NLU profiler. And you can interactively test your agents just from the terminal, okay, which is really, really cool as well. It has a speech to text and text to speech capabilities. That means that with this CLI, you can transform text into audio in just one CLI command, using the machine learning services from Google Cloud, the speech to text and the text to speech. And for the speech to text, is basically the same. It's just one CLI command. You can recognize the like into like an audio and transform that into text. Okay. You can find the documentation in Dialogflow CX, under my GitHub, Dialogflow -cx-cli, or the cxcli.shabidop.me. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I forgot to mention, I told you that I'm gonna explain what is the NLU profiler. So let's explain the NLU profiler. The NLU profiler, what is basically it checks that let me open the documentation, so that is gonna be easier for you to understand. We go here, that is under agent, no, environment, entity types, here, NLU profiler, sorry. Let me show you this example. This is a simple example. So basically, what the CXCLI, what it is gonna execute is a suite, and that suite, which is a YAML file, it is gonna has like multiple tests. Okay, in each test, what we are gonna test is basically like an input, and then the expected things that should be triggered. Okay, for instance, it's basically to check that if we are gonna the input, the type is text, because as an input we accept audio as well, so it automatically is gonna have the speech recognition, transform that into text, and send and use that text as an input. But it is gonna validate that the intent that is gonna trigger is a high intent. Okay, and if we type hello, the intent that is going to be triggered is the high intent as well. Okay, if we check um, a text like a more complex one, sorry, example, for instance, here the input is I want 3 pizzas, and then we are gonna validate that the intent that is gonna be triggered is the order intent, and then the parameters that are gonna be there, or that should be there, is a number with the value 3 and order type with the value pizza. So with that, what we are gonna ensure is that our NLU first is working fine, and then during all the change and after some time that we execute this, and after some changes, our NLU has the same like specification. Basically, for the audio is like this: instead of using type audio, you have to use type sorry, instead of using type text, you have to use type audio, and then you specify the mp3 file. Okay, and it will do, as I said, automatically using machine learning, the speech to text recognition, and then sending that to the Dialogflow CX NLU. Okay, so we're gonna use two machine learning process, basically the speech to text and then the NLU. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In terms of the generative AI and how to integrate all these things for the in the Dialogflow CX. So my suggestion, let me here. It is gonna be like something or how to create this like in an easy way. For instance, here or for instance here. Let's say that this intent is gonna be triggered, okay, and or this is the default welcome intent. Okay, so here, instead of adding the agent says, okay, what we can do is under the webhook settings, we can create a global webhook settings. Sorry, we can deploy a global webhook that what it does is basically the input that is gonna have is a prompt, okay, and then that webhook is the one that is gonna interact with Palm, for example, using the Palm API or using the Vertex Generative AI Studio with Bison, or all the fine-tuned models that you can create on Google Cloud Console. Okay, the large language models you can fine-tune right now on Google Cloud. I am playing with it, and it's pretty cool. So in that case, what you can do is you can like set a parameter. Okay, like for instance, let's say assistant okay, dot prompt. And then here you can say, instead of value, what you can add is say hello to the user, specifying or welcoming to We Are Developers Machine Learning Day Conf. Okay. So then it's as easy as then on your webhook, what you are gonna have is basically enabling your webhook. You will create a webhook, and that webhook you are gonna specify that parameter. Okay, that you are gonna send that parameter, and then that webhook is the one that is gonna interact with or Palm API or OpenAI or with under Vertex, under Google Cloud, with your fine-tuned LLM, or um, with your I don't know, with your LLM, in general, to instead of having, because here, as you are seeing, is like the agent says is basically like a random, like you provide three options, and then randomly the Dialogflow CX, it is gonna give you these three. But for instance, if you're interacting with this chatbot like a bunch of times, these three are not gonna be enough. So it is better to have like these kind of interactions, like to using generative AI to have at the end better experiences, from the end user's perspective. So yeah, it's as easy as this. The webhook that you can create is basically should be generic, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry. So yeah, again, thanks for being there and for attending my talk. Thanks for We Are Developers to having me here. And yeah, you can find all my content in shabidop.me. Thank you very much.
Hello again, Xavier. Thank you so much for the awesome talk. And as we have some minutes left, I would say we jump into a quick Q&A, if that works for you. And to kick it off, I would be very interested in also your developer journey. Like, how did you become interested in tech, and what was your journey to the point where you are now?
Yeah, so my journey, I think that is kind of different because, like, well, I've started like, like as a regular Java developer here in Spain. Then I was like moving to test automations and then just automations. And since 3 years ago, I am doing like a bunch of things here at VoiceFlow, like platform engineering, like developing tools to make their life easier and automating things, CI/CD, infrastructure as code, and cloud in general. And then which I love, like working doing that is something that I love. And then there's another thing, which is my hobby, which is assistance and how to interact with computers, basically using human language. So that is where all the conversational AI thing with Alexa, with Dialogflow CX came, right?
All right, yeah, thank you for giving us insights in that. Let's move on to some more talk-related questions. First one would be, what are the advantages of Dialogflow CX for similar products like Azure, AWS, etc.?
So basically, it's by far one of the easiest platforms to start and to develop conversations. Okay, and the focus, or the main focus here, is basically on the conversation. So you can forget about like coding and all these things. It's just a matter of like creating the conversation. So, and if you wanna like even a more easier platform, that is VoiceFlow. So my recommendation is gonna be use VoiceFlow to design your conversation, and then once you wanna like deploy that conversation in a real world, go to Dialogflow CX for sure.
All right, thanks. Next question. What about security and privacy considerations when using Dataflow CX for bot development?
So yeah, that is a great question. Everything that you develop and deploy on the Dialogflow CX is under your Google Cloud project and under your Google Cloud account. So everything is secure, and Google Cloud has like basically all the security standards and compliances like ISO, HIPAA, PII. So it is a safe place. Also for instead of using the public Palm API, if you are using the like an Palm deploy on your Google Cloud platform using Vertex, or a Palm fine tune using Vertex on your Google Cloud, that is gonna be only on your Google Cloud account and your Google Cloud project, basically. So it is a safe place to deploy your things.
All right, thanks for clarifying that. Next question. Does Dialogflow CX handle multilingual bots and support different languages?
Yes, you can add more languages and create like different interactions per language. I would say as a recommendation that if per language the interaction is way different, because like people from other languages interact in different ways. If the interaction is way different, I would recommend to create one, let's say, for English and another one for Spanish, for example. One agent for each language, basically.
All right, thanks for that. Next question. Are there already some successful real-world use cases with creating bots with Dialogflow CX you could mention?
I'm not sure. I didn't like. I know like a bunch of companies are using it for internal purposes, and it's like a platform that is widely used for big corporations. But I cannot tell you specifically like this one was built with Dialogflow CX, but I can tell you that there are like a lot of big companies that they are using Dialogflow CX as a assistant tool, as a chatbot tool.
All right, thanks. Next question. What advice or suggestion do you have for developers who are transitioning from the previous version of Dialogflow to Dialogflow CX?
So yeah, that's a great question. So Dialogflow ES, which is the older version, they have to develop a bunch of coding. So I think I didn't have too much experience on ES, but like they have, I think it's something called context or something like that, and there's not um, like a graphic view of your conversation. Like it's way complex to create conversations there. Just to use the NLU is super easy, but if you want to create a conversation using ES, is more complex. So my recommendation is gonna be like basically there is one official GitHub project from Google that like migrates from ES to CX, but I heard that there are some issues with the tool. But like just try it and see if that works. But if not, my suggestion is gonna be export the NLU and create the NLU on CX, and then recreate the conversation on CX reusing the webhooks, reusing the code basically that you have.
All right, thank you so much. Next question. What are some practical applications or scenarios where Dialog CX bots can be effectively utilized?
So any kind of, for instance, that you have a business and you wanna like create an FAQ bot, for example, that Dialogflow CX helps you a lot. Like any kind of business interaction, like, I don't know, to book some, like, a table in a restaurant, to book flights, these kind of things. If the conversational is well designed, then it is gonna be really nice to use Dialogflow CX for that use case.
Right, yeah, nice example. Thank you for that. And another question. Does Dialogflow CX offer integration capabilities with various platforms, systems, or external APIs such as CRM systems?
Yeah, like, there's an endpoint. The one that I mentioned in the presentation called is the detect intent, that is under the session per user in the Dialogflow CX API, in that chain of the API. So yeah, basically, you can create and you can, like, build custom integrations for the Dialogflow CX, and embed that in a CRM, embed that in your, like, your custom app. Like, I don't know, if for instance, if you wanna use it in your Flutter app, it's as easy as create that integration, which is super super easy.
But thanks for this as well. Kavi, you wrote a book, The Alexa Revolution. Maybe you can give us some insights, maybe cover some of the topics that you are discussing in this book, and maybe also what was the writing process? How do you write a book about Alexa?
Yeah, so basically, the book itself is about, like, it is like a from zero to hero book. So it starts with like understanding what is Alexa, what is an Alexa skill, which are the applications that you can build for these devices, and it explains you, like, the whole ecosystem. Like, how to, all the things related to the NLU, all the, like, specific features, how to build a lambda, how to deploy a skill, how to publish in the skill store. And yeah, so, and it has, like, in every chapter you have to build a new, like, a new part of that Alexa skill. Like, it's just super easy, and it comes with a GitHub repo, so everything is aligned, like a chapter with the GitHub repo, and everything is incremental. And yeah, like, how to think or how to write a book is basically, what I did is create, like, the, like, the index, like the chapters that I wanna talk, and then once you have that, for me at least, was the hardest part, is just start writing. For instance, if we were creating a Dialogflow CX book, we can add as an index, like, introduction, I don't know, like, NLU, agents, flows, like, you can start writing those chapters, and then it's something, like, it is not easy, like, it requires time, dedication, and also to be consistent, but, like, once you have the index done, like, the ideas are just coming, and you just need to write them.
So the tough part is, as so often, beginning to begin. From
Exactly.
what you told me, yeah, I know this. All right. You are also organizing a DevOps day and a community in Madrid. Maybe you want to also share some, like, tips or insights on how to manage communities.
Yeah, so, yeah, I am, as I say, I'm organizing, like, Madrid DevOps, and then its big conference at the end of the year, which is DevOps Days Madrid, GDG Madrid, the Google Developer Group, and also the Alexa one. And yeah, basically, the a community of developers is a community that you wanna create or that you wanna organize. That could be, I don't know, like, for instance, we are developers is like a broader community that, like, has, I don't know, like, backend, ML, whatever. You can create a community in about the topics that you want, uh, if you want to create a community of a specific technology, you can create that as well. But basically, in terms of tips, is right now I would say that a lot of people is or wanted to start going to in-person events again. So I would say to start doing some small in-person events, get a venue around your place, around the city that you are gonna host those meetups, and be consistent, like trying to create one event per month, trying to create a sponsorship with local companies, with big companies as well. If you are gonna talk about Google, so let's talk, let's ping Google and say, okay, how we are gonna do this event? Can you sponsor me? Like, I don't know, for paying catering or for bringing like top speakers, for example. So yeah, but and also not another recommendation, which is I think important, is not to be alone. Like, at least start a community with 2-3 people, so you can uh, like each of you can focus on one thing, and you are not alone, like doing all the stuff basically.
Yeah. Sharing the work always works, and making a habit of it. That's always, as it is with so many other things, it's the way to go. All right, we got some more questions also from the community. What are the limitations of building bots with Dialogflow CX?
I think the limit is most in your head, like you can build whatever you want, and yeah, like I didn't have any limitation. I mean, I'm pretty sure that when you start developing things, probably you will find some limitations, but overall, like, it allows you to create a bunch of things.
Right, so also like technical limitations, there aren't really any. It's really just what you make out of the resource.
Yeah, I heard that for the telephony integrations, like there are some uh, issues, trying to integrate with it, but overall it's fine.
All right, happy to hear that. Next question. How would you try to start implement automations and bots in a company? How would you convince your CTO or CEO of using automation?
So basically, with data, like that means that uh, let's say that with creating a chatbot or creating a bot or an assistant gives you like more time to work on other things. For instance, for the customer support, let's say, if there are a lot of people, if there are a lot of if the customer success team is spending a bunch of time resolving or answering the same questions all the time, then you can create a chatbot for that. Same internally, like if you have I don't know, like you want to make a request, I don't know, to give you access to this system that can be implemented in the chatbot, in a chatbot, so the I don't know, like the sysadmin team can be focused on develop new stuff, instead of interacting with these end user requests basically all the time.
And as so often, you can write whatever you want in your FAQs. Most of the time, people will nevertheless write an email before they take a look at those. So yeah, could be a very useful use case, of course. And as a closing question, good closing question, I think, where do you learn all of this? Any resources to share?
um just reading the documentation, the Google Cloud documentation, GitHub, like seeing other examples, seeing like other people in the community, like going to the Google Cloud Slack to the Google Cloud, Discord, and seeing what the other people is building. That is quite interesting and a good starting point. And also, like all the content that I'm creating on YouTube, on articles, that is also good. So you can learn from my experience as well. On YouTube, there are another YouTube videos. There's not too much, but there are things.
All right, to get a hold of the basics, and rest is research or do it by yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much for the awesome talk and also for the Q&A. Hope to see you soon on another live day of ours, and until then, stay tuned and have a nice day.
See you. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a great
See
day.
ya.